Hey everybody, I'm very excited. I'm out here in Chamblee, Georgia at the Distillery of Modern Art. They have a really nice infusion of art and spirits, and I can't wait to dive in.
Welcome to Distillery of Modern Art. My name is Russell. I'm excited to show you around. You are now in our tasting room. This is open to the public Thursday through Sunday. We do Thursday through Saturday from 5 to 10:30. We are day drinking on Sunday from noon to 5:30. That art on the banquette is created by Jen Boaz, a local artist. This is the flagship location of Distillery of Modern Art. It is the only location of Distillery of Modern Art. We are currently distributing throughout the state of Georgia. We are working on regional distribution in Tennessee and Florida. And you can buy our spirits online in over 40 states. One of the things that makes Distillery of Modern Art special is our commitment to the experience of enjoying cocktails and spirits with friends. Our business is built on a three-legged stool. Biggest and strongest part of that stool is the spirit making. We have 7 spirits in our portfolio: straight vodka, peach vodka, gin, Amaro peach, corn whiskey, bourbon whiskey, and rye whiskey. The last 2 of those are aged about 2 years. Our bourbon and our rye came on the market just a few months ago. We opened a distillery in the spring of 2022, so we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary, and excited now to have all of the spirits in our portfolio available for distribution. The 7 spirits are the biggest part of our business. The other parts of our business are private event rentals. You are now in the Watson Gallery, named for our owners, Seth and Sarah Beth Watson. This is a special space in that it is an art gallery that rotates every 7 or 8 weeks, featuring all local artists. Right now in the gallery, the exhibit is called Abstract Affairs. We are looking at 2 talented artists. Nino Sarti has some of the larger canvases in front of me, and behind you, Nancy Grace has some of the smaller, brighter colored canvases more on this side of the room and over here as well. This is a zero commission space, which is very special for our gallery, so 100% of the proceeds of any sale go directly to the artist. We think it's a wonderful relationship. We got the local artist community, they get a chance to earn a little bit of revenue, and we get a chance to beautify our space. We actually have a larger event room on the other side that I would normally be able to show you, but we're currently hosting a private event, and so we'll give them their privacy for that function. That is a room that fits more like 100 to 125 people, whereas this is more of a smaller gathering space.
So if I am an artist and I would like to be featured in your room here, how does that process work?
You could drop me a line. My name is Russell, Russell, at distilleryofmodernart.com. Would love to check out any local-based artists and consider them for our gallery. All right, let's head through our secret passageway to back of house. We are a contract distiller for partners, but I'm not privy to all the contract language that we have with individuals.
So without naming the partners, as far as a contract goes, so smaller distilleries or distilleries that are missing like a key piece, like the bottling part, they call you guys, and then you come in and you help them package and label their spirits.
Yes, and there are some that are local that it could be easier for us to talk about because the local tie-in, I think, is relevant to the brand. Doc Brown is Georgia's only seed distilled farm. They grow Jimmy Red corn, which is a fantastic heirloom corn. They bring it up here. We turn that corn into bourbon. We make a bourbon line for them, and they also acquire milk from a dairy farmer next door, and we make a line of bourbon creams. And so it's a great relationship we have with them. They are actually now starting to grow a Bruisey rye on their farm, which is a varietal that grows really well in the southeast. And so we're able to take their corn, make product for them. They're able to grow rye that then we can get from them. You know, eventually it takes some time, some seasons for that rye to be able to come up. But that's a great example of a local partnership that's mutually beneficial and is growing as they continue to do more interesting things.
And I always personally love to see locally sourced product and things like that from the community. So I'm personally a huge fan of giving back to everybody around us. So that's
There's
great.
There's another local farm, Wild Daisy Farm in Little Georgia. They grow lavender. We make a lavender vodka. And so they're bringing the lavender, which is meticulously grown and really cared for, and we provide the spirit. And that's another symbiotic relationship.
It's fantastic. And this is the bottling line?
This is the bottling line. I'll start the back of house tour in the chronology of spirit making. I know that your fans and your followers have seen a lot of distillery tours, so I want to mention some of the ways specifically that sets DOMA apart. To begin a spirit making process, you are going to mill the grain. This is our mill room. Our mash bill for our corn whiskey is 100% corn. The mash bill for the bourbon is 70% corn, 15% rye, 15% barley. The rye mash bill is 67% rye, 21% corn, 12% barley. We manufacture vodka, amaro, and gin with a 100% French wheat mash bill. Now, regardless of the grains or regardless of the spirits, it's going to start here in our mill room, where we're turning that grain into a fine powder in the consistency of flour. You'll see that it exits the mill room through that silver tube. Silver tube goes into that wall.
The ticking we hear, that's the thumper going?
Yeah. 8 feet up, that silver tube emerges from our mill room. And it jumps back into our mash cooker. And as you know, the mash cooker, you're going to be combining that grain with hot water. Cooking the grain, pulling out the sugars. We'll then take that sugary solution into one of these outside fermentation tanks, adding our yeast. Sugar plus yeast makes alcohol. This is a familiar process for you and your fans. We consider this as much of art as it is science. When you think about the specific grains that you're using, the ratio of grains, the specific yeast you're using, how long you're cooking it, how long you're fermenting it. As a member of the front of house team, I am very familiar with the simple processes, but a lot of the specifics, a lot of the technical details are handled by our four-person back of house team. We have a fantastic head distiller, Matt Bright, who is really, really good at what he does, helps us create our award-winning spirits. We have an assistant distiller, John Franklin. We have a production manager, Sal Copeland, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to bottling. And we recently brought on a production assistant, Chris Jones. So we have 4 people running back of house, making sure everything runs smoothly, and doing all different specific roles to make sure that this production team works well together. At the end of the fermentation process, our grain is known as spent grain. All of the sugars have been extracted from that grain, but that grain actually has a decent amount of protein still left in it. We upcycle it for livestock feed, which I think is a really cool element of the DOMA sustainability story. We are sourcing our craft non-GMO grains from regional and national providers, and then we are sharing those spent grains with local farmers, putting food into a cow's belly. At the end of the fermentation run, that fermented mash is heading into our still room.
Oh, that's a beautiful still there.
Right? That's beautiful. It's Vendome equipment, best in the business. You're looking at a 500-gallon pot still, a 30-foot contiguous column still. We actually had to cut a hole in the roof in order to fit all 30 feet. And as you know, a 30-foot column still is going to be more capable than a 20-foot column still. We like making our whiskeys on this column still, our corn whiskey, bourbon whiskey, and rye whiskey. We like making the gin, the vodka, more on a pot still. As you know, they function differently. In this column still, we're putting that fermented material up in the top. As it settles down through those levels and the layers, we're putting the steam in through the bottom. Steam is rising up and has stripped away the alcohol because of its higher viscosity. If we wanted to, we could run it a second time or a third time. If you ever see on a bottle of spirits 3 times distilled or 5 times distilled, they're likely using a column still. And that pot still is going to be a single cook on that batch. That pot still batch is going to separate into 3 layers, your heads, your hearts, and your tails. We discard the heads and the tails. They tend to be a little bit more astringent, and we'll hold on to the hearts of that batch. Now, whether we're using our column still or our pot still, it's going to end up in a large stainless steel tank at the end. Make sure that the entire batch has a consistency of quality and flavor. If it's a vodka, gin, or amaro, it's going to go from one of those stainless steel tanks to bottling. If it's a whiskey, it's going to go in one of those 53-gallon New American Oak barrels. I mentioned earlier that our bourbon and our rye are aged about 2 years. Corn whiskey is aged a little bit less than that. And corn whiskey is an aging profile that is evolving. We are right now on corn whiskey batch 2. It was finished in ex-bourbon barrels that were then used for barley wine and stout. And so you'll notice a little bit of a chocolate note in there as part of that aging or finishing process. Our corn whiskey batch 1 was finished on Amburana wood, which gives it a much different flavor profile. Do not know what corn whiskey batch 3 is going to be. It's going to be a chance for our distillation team to play with it. Really excited to see when that comes down the line.
Do you have one company that makes all this?
I believe everything right here is serviced and manufactured by
Vendome.
And to my understanding, they are required service people that if we have an issue, well, I should say when, because these are powerhouses, we're using these stills a lot, they fly someone down from Kentucky to fix it.
Oh, very cool.
Students, but give people a chance to be able to engage with the materials of a distillery and appreciate the distinct beauty that stills can hold. Okay, so at this point in the tour, we have milled the grain. We have cooked the grain, we have fermented it, we have distilled it, we have let it sit, maybe we have aged it. Last stop is bottling, because I'm not going to send you home with a big stainless steel tank or a wooden barrel. We bottle 4 at a time. It comes around the line, it gets a cap, it makes this corner, it gets a label or labels. Some bottles have both a neck and a body label. It gets a plastic tamper-proof cap here, and it's pulled off the end of the line. Our bottling operation takes 6 to 8 people, depending on the complexity of the operation. We bottle all of the DOMA spirits in our distinctive square bottles. We also do some fantastic contract partners where we bottle for them. Some of them we help them distill. Some of them we work together on the recipe. Some of it is another person's recipe. We have about a dozen different brands that we work with, and it is a fantastic symbiotic relationship. Getting a distillery off the ground is very capital intensive, as you might imagine. All the equipment is a little bit pricey, and then we have barrels that are sitting up in a warehouse in Doraville. We have over 1,000 barrels of our whiskey aging, doing their thing. Those barrels are paying rent, they're not making money. And so it is a wonderful opportunity we have to work with entrepreneurs, to work with big brands on bottling, on distillation, and all things in between.
It's such a good way to look at it too, is it's paying rent, you know? Mm-hmm. Are you guys gonna be shooting for a bourbon that's over 2 years, or are you gonna stick to that 2-year mark?
I do think that we will hold on to some and have aged products. We will likely do some single barrels. So DOMA was the brainchild of Seth White. And I mentioned to you earlier that Seth and I know each other from events business in Atlanta. One of the things I hear him say often about the impetus for DOMA is he spent the first half of his life enjoying whiskey, and he wanted to spend the second half of his life making whiskey. And so, like Seth, I'm a big fan of aged products, and so excited to be able to share a little bit of our aged products with you shortly. Part of the reason that we have this lean towards art is because of Seth's work with events and also his appreciation of art. The fact that we have Distillery of Modern Art in the brand really enables us to do fun things like this gallery and have art on the back label of our bottles and have all these different little ways that we celebrate creativity as a brand. It's also worth noting the fact that Distillery of Modern Art doesn't have Atlanta in the name or Georgia in the name. 2 of the 7 spirits are peach flavored. We have a peach vodka, we have an Amaro peach. We want to be known as a fantastic southern distillery, but we have big ambitions. We're planning to go national and international. And so there is certainly potential at some point that there could be multiple DOMA distilleries outside of Atlanta.
Do you have your eye on any cities in particular?
I think it's too early. You know, we're not even 3 years old yet, so I think it's probably too early to say what location number 2 could be. But yeah, God willing, we'll get there.
You said 40 states you shipped to already?
Correct.
Perfect. And what was the website again?
distilleryofmodernart.com.
Perfect.
And if you go to the Buy Spirits tab, you can figure out what the spirits are and where they go.
What's your personal favorite?
My personal favorite would probably be the rye whiskey. I think our rye is exceptional. It is really good. I think it's that Abruzzi rye varietal that we use that makes it really finish nicely. It has a nice chocolatey finish to it. I'm a big whiskey fan. I think our bourbon's really good too, but I think our rye is just a little bit better. One thing that I'm excited to share with you is our Amaro peach. You may know that Amaro means bitter in Italian. Obviously, peach is a sweet flavor, and so the Amaro peach has a balanced contribution to the Amari category. I didn't know a lot about Amari before starting to work at DOMA about 14 months ago, and I am now seeking out Amari when I go to bars and I go to package stores because I think it's a really interesting spirit. It is traditionally enjoyed neat as a digestif or an aperitif before or after a meal. I think it's a great way to enjoy our Amaro Peach. I also really like our Black Manhattan. It is equal parts Amaro Peach and our rye with a spritz of lemon and some bitters in there. Manhattans are traditionally made with vermouth, but since we are a distillery, we do not manufacture our own vermouth. And as a bar, we can only serve things that we manufacture. And so it forces us to get really creative as a bar program. We make our own orange liqueur for Cosmos. We make our own creme de menthe. We make a chili spirit. We make a coffee spirit. We make all sorts of fun things that go into our cocktails. And I think the Amaro Peach combined with whiskey is a really fun flavor profile that we have in multiple of the cocktails featured on our current menu.
So I actually am not familiar with this. So since you are a distillery and a bar, you are not allowed to use any spirits from outside.
Correct.
You have to use only things that you make in-house.
Correct.
Including ingredients.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. Is that a Georgia law or is that a law all over?
I believe that is a national law. Do you know that?
Not a national law, but
Georgia law.
It is both a state law and something that is generally true everywhere. So a lot of states have similar laws about that. But there are no national laws about whether a distillery can or cannot serve that stuff state by state.
Interesting. Very cool. Thank you.
Now that we've walked around the building, let's do the tasting. We have our 3 whiskeys in front of you. We're going to start with our corn whiskey, which is the 100% corn mash bill. This is going to be the highest proof that we're going to try. This is 116 proof or 58% ABV. That is pretty hot in terms of the proofing. A lot of the spirits that we distill are between 80 and 100 proof. That is what typically people enjoy. Whiskeys have been bumping their proofing up, as you may have noticed over the years, and so we thought this was a really nice, appropriate proof for what it is. So you'll have to let me know when we get to that. Next, we'll do our bourbon. This has the artist proof sticker on it. When we first started bottling our whiskeys in the end of last year, we put this artist proof #1 sticker on the first 1,000 bottles. And so this is of the initial first 1,000 bottles. We have already sold all the first 1,000 bottles of rye. And so this is our standard rye whiskey. And then we will end with the Amaro Peach, which I spoke about earlier. I want to give you a chance to try. This is not aged to perfection, but I think you'll still enjoy it. We'll start with this corn whiskey. The corn is a white non-GMO corn. We believe it's a little bit sweeter than the traditional yellow dent corn that's used in a lot of corn whiskeys. Corn whiskey is not as popular as bourbon and rye, but we think it's really nice.
I'm actually liking the color on this. Usually, all the corn whiskeys I see are like white label.
Yeah,
like
it
this
doesn't really show much aging profile at all.
Yeah. It's got a really sweet nose to it. It's not bad for corn whiskey.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. So as a reminder, that was finished in ex-bourbon barrels that then were used for barley wine and stout.
That extends the color in too. That's really nice.
So this back label has art on it that you can see in the clear spirits.
Oh, I like
There's
that.
something that's the peach vodka in your hand. There's the Atlanta vodka.
Are they all unique?
They all are unique, and they all are pieces of art that we commissioned. So the artists knew that they were going to have, and here's the gin. I think it's just pops. It's beautiful. The artists knew that they were going to be on that specific back label.
Cool.
And those pieces of art are in that back hallway that you would normally be able to check out.
And you guys are doing a party over there.
Yes. That is one of our over 100 private events that we host annually. So please do hit us up if you want to throw a party at DOMA.
This is bourbon, 2 years.
So 2-year bourbon, 70% corn, 15% barley, 15% rye,
What's the proof?
90 proof.
90 proof.
Yep. So 45% ABV. We wanted to create a bourbon that we felt was both delicious and sippable. I think we hit it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really smooth. And usually with 2-year bourbons, you get that a little bit more of that burn. And this, 90 proof. This is got a nice finish.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Actually, kind of reminds me of a mellow Buffalo Trace.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really nice. Really good. And a nice color too.
And so, since these are recently bottled, and we have been able to put our bourbon and rye into bottles and to be able to distribute it, it's exciting to see what we can do in the future. There's a possibility that we could age our barrels more and have an older product. There's a possibility that we would bring single barrel products onto the market. We're also really excited to be building out our barrel program, where we can work with fantastic people to be able to sell a barrel at a time.
Do you know what you'll be selling a barrel for?
It's a good question. We haven't figured out that price point yet.
First 3 are free, and then after.
This is my favorite spirit that we make. This is our rye. This is going to be 100 proof, so a little bit higher proof than the bourbon, which is 90. Mash bill is 67% rye, 21% corn, 12% barley.
Oh, that's really nice.
Really nice. And the rye varietal is called Abruzzi rye.
Also, really easy drinker, really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually with rye, you get that kick, especially as it goes over 100 proof. And this goes on really nice.
Thank you. Yeah. We're really pleased with how the whiskeys came out.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like things under like 4 years. You know, you kind of they're very hit or miss depending on where you go. And these are all really easy, nice drinkers. And I'm a sucker for rye. Like I love good old fashioned.
Yeah.
It like should be made with rye whiskey. You know.
Yeah.
Until Whistlepig got ridiculous with their pricing, that was like my choice of old fashions was their ryes. Well, yeah, that's really good. I'm also it's funny because like as I go through my bourbon journey, I originally started off on like Weller Green Labels and Buffalo Traces, all things that came in at 90 proof, and I found that if I'm going to sip something new, it's going to start at 100, proof, and then go from there. Because it just has, to me, it's such a nice flavor profile, and they have that like nice long finish on them a lot. This rye is fantastic.
I like rye too. And the dessert of our taste today will be the Samara Peach. This is the lightest proof of our 4-spirit flight that we're working with. This is an 80 proof spirit. It has the peach flavor. It also has some of the botanicals that we use in our gin. And the reason it's so dark is because of the muscovado sugar. So this is probably the least healthy of the spirits that you'll be able to enjoy, but sometimes life is not about being healthy.
It's good, nice nose. I mean, the peach just jumps out at you.
Yeah.
That's great. Is this a vodka or is this a?
So this is a wheat base.
Okay.
I know some people enjoy a shot of this on vanilla ice cream, so it is certainly a versatile spirit.
I can see that. This would be great to make some mixed drinks with for a party.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very. It really does. It has that dessert. That dessert liqueur.
Yeah. Great after a meal.
This would be really good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the product.
Yeah, it's all really, really good.
We do all sorts of events, though, that are open to the public, from candle making to flower arranging to yoga to calligraphy classes. We have a series we call DOMA Dinners, where we work with a local chef and we pair their delicious food with some cocktails. We actually have multiple DOMA dinners later this month. We have a fantastic baker who does bourbon and batter, where we combine either a whiskey flight or a whiskey cocktail with the therapeutic benefits of cake decorating. It's fun for me as the manager who helps coordinate these in-house programs and think about all the ways that people get together and then having a drink that accentuates the experience.
That's really neat.
The spent grain we have is food safe. I mean, obviously we give it to cows, so things are consuming it and surviving, and not only surviving, like growing and feeding their belly. One of the challenges we have as a distillery is what to do with the spent grain as we continue to grow and have more need. We're going to have to find another farm in order to be able to help with getting rid of the spent grain. We have spoken with people about drying the spent grain to be able to have it as a powder form to be able to give to places like bakers, to be able to use it for other ways to put into human food supply. The challenge with that is our spent grain is such a water-heavy product to be able to install, whether it uses centripetal force or a press or any of these other, big machinery potential partners we have. It's a high investment that we haven't been able to take on, but that is certainly a big opportunity for us because right now we pay to get rid of the spent grain, and if the spent grain was a revenue source for us, that could change things. We need to find farmers. We talk with people who are composters, like big, large-scale, industrial-sized composters. But again, that was we're paying for it to go out. We spoke with people like maybe we could turn it into dog food because that is obviously a big market. There are a ton of billion-dollar industry, the pet food industry, and so that could be an interesting way to upcycle the grain to actually bring revenue.
Well, yeah, and it's funny, just the dog food from a distillery that's just a natural. I would buy my dog that.
Right?
Yeah, I'm a guy. Like I want to feed my dog. You know what I mean? Like I just see that being an easy market. Hell, a sourdough bread made from the mash bill of your favorite barley, or your favorite, like I see that being something cool. I was just I always think I'd probably. Yeah, I think that would just be fun, so, like if I could go, because I remember Old Forester was like, and here's our giant thing of yeast that only Old Forester has, and I'm sitting there going, I just want to put a pinch of that in my pocket. Make some Old Forester sourdough and sell it. And I was just like, I'm like, they probably would yell at me. I was like, do I take their proprietary yeast and, I'm like, but that would be a really neat thing. Like, come get your Old Forester bread.
Yeah. The reason we haven't fully jumped in is we just go through so much grain. We are having a truck pick up 3,000 to 4,000 gallons of grain once or twice a week. As you think about how many loaves of bread is that? I mean, you're talking about you need to work with 10 different bakers just to be able to move through that product. And so we need to find a solution that can be high volume. And right now it's caps.
Well, I mean, but the fact that you're having that much spent grain is great for business. That's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Because that means people clearly love your product. And
my name is Matt Greif. I'm the head distiller at Distillery of Modern Art here in Chamblee, Georgia. I have been here since day one. We have been open since 3 years now. So we produce, I believe, in-house more spirits by proof gallon than anyone in the state of Georgia at the moment, because we do a lot of contract distillation, not just for ourselves, but for other people. So we've been putting whiskey down since the minute we could turn the stills on, and we have 2,000 barrels in the warehouse aging perfectly. So we are at 2.8 years on our rye and bourbon right now. They are out there young, they're delicious, but getting older by the day. So welcome.
Do you have an age in mind that you're looking for all of them, or are you just going to be releasing a little bit every year?
Everything we do is taste oriented. So all of our decisions, from our mash bill to our proof to our distillation style to even the proof that we barrel age at, is all about flavor, and we don't spare expense on that. So if it takes time, it'll take time. We're not in a rush.
So master distiller is a hell of a title. How do you get to be the head distiller of an institution like this?
I don't use the term master distiller. I'm learning every day. There's always something to learn. People use that term. I don't. I am the head distiller, which means I get to make a lot of the decisions here. And I am blessed in this location. Ownership has completely supported me in all the decisions we make in production. And they are 100% behind us. So it's a great place to work. I love it here.
How did you learn the skill of distilling?
I'll tell you, I started in my garage, like a lot of people. I was living in Chicago and was working in film and television. So the company I was working for closed, and I had an opportunity to work with some partners up there and open a distillery. From there, I went back to grad school in my 40s and got a master's degree in brewing and distilling from Harry Lott. And then this opportunity came up. I got here during construction, and it's been go, go, go ever since.
I had no idea there was a master's degree in brewing and distilling. I feel like I picked the wrong path in life.
It is one of the oldest universities in the world, and the oldest brewing and distilling program in the world.
Do you have to have a certain bachelor's to get into that, or do you?
I went to art school, so no. but I did have to hire a math tutor in my 40s because I failed high school algebra. So our whiskeys that we produce here in-house are a result of a lot of research and development, all the way from grain selection to mash bill. For both the bourbon and the rye and our corn whiskey, we use a white corn, a non-GMO white corn, and that was, again, a choice for flavor. We also use an Abruzzi rye, and that we chose for two reasons. A, for flavor, but B, because it grows well in the Southeast. And we don't have to, especially today, ship in rye from Canada, which most distillers are doing. So I can see the price of rye whiskey going up real quick. But all of those decisions from the corn, the malt, the malted barley, the rye, are flavor informed through a lot of R&D. So the rye itself is a 70% rye whiskey. So most people would look at that and say that's going to be a spicy whiskey. But it is not. The ferulic acid content in the Abruzzi rye is low, and that is what turns into those clove and spice notes in fermentation. So this rye has some more floral notes, some minty notes, some herbaceous notes to it. So it's not just a big pepper and clove bomb like some ryes can be, which are delicious in my mind, but this is just different and a little more complex. We use the same rye, corn, and malted barley in the bourbon, just in different variations.
It's funny because like usually with ryes you get that spice, you get that incredibly earthy taste, and yours was incredibly smooth. You didn't get that you normally get with a lot of ryes. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, and between the two, I drink the rye mostly, but I think they're both delicious. And our corn whiskey is something fun that we do. It is 100% white corn, and the nice thing about corn whiskey is we're not obligated to use new charred barrels. So I can use used barrels of any type to age corn whiskey. So this particular one is a blend of 2 barrels that were aged in former rye barrels and 2 barrels that were aged in bourbon barrels, but were given to a local brewery first, and they used them to age a barley wine and an imperial stout. So I took those after that and put the corn whiskey in it, and it made some really delicious notes. And that is a very young whiskey. It's about 9 months old.
Yeah, it's funny. It was surprisingly good. I am not a corn whiskey person at all, and it was very drinkable.
A lot of people look at corn whiskey and the first thing they think is moonshine.
Yep.
And a big burn. And corn whiskey can be absolutely delicious.
Well, even Buffalo Trace put out that White Lightning, and I'm like, it's not my thing. But you have a nice corn whiskey, and the color on it's really pretty too. I guess that comes from the barrels.
Well, and the nice thing is it's lightly colored, and that's because of the used barrels. And if you look at scotches, they're also lightly colored because they can use used barrels and things like that. It's that new charred oak that gives those bourbons and ryes their deep caramel use.
So, just for my own knowledge, you're is it Amaro?
Amaro.
You're Amaro Peach. Now, it's a herbal liqueur. I talked to a lot of people about bourbon and whiskey and gins. What's the definition of an herbal liqueur? How is that different from everything?
Amaro, or Amari in plural, is a old school Italian bitter liqueur. It is, if you go to Italy, every town has their own variation, their own variety of it. And it's usually made, macerating herbs and a lot of bitter herbs and things, along with fruits and other spices. So we took a traditional Italian bitter liqueur and put a southern twist on it with a little bit of peach in it. And it all came together when sweetening it with the right sugar.
So back to your rye whiskey, do you sip it neat or do you mix it with and make a good old fashioned out of it?
Always neat, but if you really want something interesting, a black Manhattan with our rye and our Amaro is really good.
I'm excited. I think the ladies are going to be making me one here in a minute. I'm excited to see how it works and all because I like Manhattans. I like old fashions. I've never had a black Manhattan though. That sounds.
Yeah, we're omitting the vermouth and adding the Amaro.
It would be a good substitute. I feel
it
like
is, yeah. What's the difference?
But that cocktail is
Between the two.
so you drink that over the mix.
So what are you drinking there?
I don't know.
Hallelujah.
It's called what now? It's called a Hallelujah.
Halle Berry or Hallelujah?
What exactly is in it?
strawberry distillate, rye, Szechuan peppercorn syrup, and chili bitters.
So the story behind the strawberry distillate is we have a guest, James Beard nominated bartender coming in and doing some things with us. And she's allergic to strawberries and hasn't tasted a strawberry in over 6 years. So I got a bunch of strawberries and I distilled them for her so she could taste strawberries again. Because allergens don't come across in distillate.
Interesting. I did not know that.
So now she can taste strawberries again.
Pretty cool. And you guys are working on perfecting your drink that she's going to try?
Yep.
And is that true for any fruit? Like if I was allergic to banana and you distilled banana, I would be able to enjoy the banana flavor?
Yeah, so allergens are proteins of various different sorts. So all the proteins don't vaporize till about 212 to 395 degrees. We never hit those temperatures in distillation, so they stay either in liquid or solid state in the still.
Awesome. Thank you.
And that includes gluten, which is why all distilled spirits are gluten-free.
Hello, my name's Aaliyah. I've been working at the Distillery of Modern Art since July of 2024, and I've been bartending for 11 years. So, like any perfect dark Manhattan, ours is called the Black Manhattan because we use Amaro in it. Equal parts Amaro and rye. There's some Prohibition bitters in there. And then you're just going to give that a quick stir.
What's the difference between an old fashioned?
An old fashioned is with sugar and bitters, and a Manhattan often includes vermouth, and a black Manhattan substitutes the vermouth for an Amaro.
Is one sweeter than the other? More bitter than the other?
The one that will probably be more bitter would definitely be a black Manhattan or a dark Manhattan because it does include an Amaro, which an Amaro is known to be bitter. Amaro literally stands for a bitter in Italian. And then, of course, to be garnished with cherries.
It should be bitter, dry, peach, and very bitter.
I can smell the booze. I can smell the peaches. That I definitely peach forward.
There's an aromatic bitter in there. So that should be right there on the back.
That's a fantastic Manhattan. This is fantastic. I love the cherry on top. So these are, you said, soaked in for 1 month.
Yes.
So they know that it's going to take some time to get these going. They've got a 12-year-old and they've got a 15-year-old.
And are these Maritinos or
They're Luxardo.
Luxardos? What's the difference in a Maraschino and a Luxardo?
The maraschino cherry is designed to be for ice cream sundaes, and it is made in ripe red syrup. Whereas the Luxardo is cooked in its own cherry juice. It is cooked in a copper stove, so the cherry juice thickens and it becomes its own syrup.
Interesting.
Versus maraschino cherries have sugar added and grit in like red food coloring.
So is this your creation here, or?
This is a classic creation. I can't take too much credit for it. It came about in Prohibition days. Yeah, so that's an old thing.
Well, I love the swapping for the peach for the vermouth.
So any black Manhattan or dark Manhattan, as you can call it, is when you trade out the vermouth for an Amaro, which is my favorite way to do it. Well, I love Amaros.
So the glass we're using tonight, is this a classic Manhattan glass? Is this a specific glass that you do, or?
It's the glass that we do. Normally it's in a pink glass, but a Nick and Nora pairs just as well. I'll come and drink.
Thank you so much.
We want to thank you, Jonathan, for visiting the Distillery of Modern Art. We welcome you to come back anytime you want and take another tour, and we're waiting for our next visit. See you soon.